Hi, I'm Cassidy Questorf. I'm the executive director of Klamath Film, the nonprofit that runs the Klamath Independent Film Festival. With me today is Sheila Rittenberg. She is the executive producer behind Marda's Gift. Sheila, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to not walk away from watching this film with a smile and feeling like there's a spark and just this kind of overall love, like just feeling of love after watching this film. So can you talk a little bit about this process of meeting Marda? You've been friends for a long time and how this short documentary came about.
Sure. Well, Marta and I have been friends for more than 17 years now. And as I grew to know her, the stories of her teaching and also of her own background kind of dripped through into our conversations. And over, months and even years, I began to have a picture of this woman who single-handedly is helping people change lanes in life. Many of her students, her baking students, come to her. They're plumbers or doctors or engineers or stay-at-home dads or carpenters, and they've had a dream to bake. They want to start a bakery. They want to perhaps be a professional bakery chef, or they may just want to be able to replicate all of grandma's baking recipes from, another lifetime. And Marta takes them on. They come from Asia, from all over Europe, Honduras, Canada, all over the States. And so over these 30 years, she has really had an influence and a touch in hundreds of people's lives, all from Bend, Oregon, which, now I can't say small Bend, Oregon, but years ago I could have said small Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we get to see that kind of play out with the bread doctor. And I just love kind of the parallels of that story and how you used his story to really channel kind of the storytelling arc and the narrative of the film. So what was that like kind of finding him or finding the student that you wanted to really portray the impact that she's had across not just the country, but the world too?
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, Esden Flukiger and his family, Dr. Flukiger, are current clients and students of Marta's, and he began studying with her about 10 years ago, perhaps 8. Many of Marta's experiences that highlight or shed a light on this sort of coming of age of a baker took place a long time ago. Um, she is still teaching, uh, and Esden and his family really exemplified most of what we wanted to bring out about all these students' stories. I mean, we couldn't have everyone in the film, and we all have limited budgets, so traveling across the world and that sort of thing was somewhat limited. In any case, Eston's story is so profound and inspiring, in that he had always had a passion for baking, and with a daughter with Down syndrome who was growing up, and both Esden and his wife Lisa wanted a future for this girl, Eleanor, and they sort of put it all together and said, we're going to start a family bakery. And Esden found Marta, and they worked together to realize this dream. So that seemed to us as filmmakers to really showcase all the dimensions that are involved when Marta teaches someone European baking. It helped Esden make the shift from full-time medical work to mostly full-time baking. It showed that there really isn't such a thing as a disability. It's more unique abilities and how you put those into action. Um, and really, also with the Flukiger story, it's about the impact that a small action of teaching someone to bake can have on a town, because the town of Torrington, Wyoming, has gone through a small revival and hopefully will continue to revive as a result of this bakery and people traveling and driving all sorts of hours to pick up their favorite treats and treats for their neighbors and their friends. So it's quite a story.
Absolutely. And it's just such a story of, I mean, life, like all these
Yeah.
different themes and all these different making a shift in a career or making a shift and sharing something, like you said, so simple as baking, but it actually has these huge ripple effects and impacts when you really get to the heart of it. And the story just totally encompasses that so well and beautifully done. So was there anything, I mean, I feel like you can take away so many different life lessons just from watching the film, but from being behind the scenes and producing, were there any surprising life lessons that you might have learned working on this film or what you maybe hope people take away with it?
Well, yes. I think one is really what you've touched on, that this is about humanity at its core.
Mhm.
Um, People being good to one another, people believing in one another, believing in the abilities of other people, meeting others where they are and helping them grow.
Mhm.
And I think another surprise, so that, I didn't think of the film in quite those terms when I started the work
Yeah.
on it. And that full picture began to mesh together as we did more and more work and did some shooting and interviews and so on. I think another one is that, Marda is all about excellence. And she may not describe, I think she derives as much from her students
Mm.
as they do of her or from her. And she has the thrill of her life when a student masters something, accomplishes,
Oh,
uh, whether it's a formula or a series of formulas, or that bakery is in fact opened, and Marta has flown down there and helped them select the right equipment and do the design so that the bakery facility functions the way it should. All of these are just a thrill for Marta. She believes in accomplishment and in excellence. And I learned how deeply that goes in Marta, and it's a commitment that she plays out with every person she interacts with.
oh my gosh, how beautiful. And again, with that kind of rippling effect, what one person can do for
Yeah,
community and for other people. Um,
exactly.
So, Marta, as you mentioned, she's been your friend for over 17 years and you've had this idea for a while. But what is that actually like when you go up to someone you're so close with and you're like, "Okay, I really do want to make this film about you." How does that process kind of happen?
Yeah, good question. Well, people have approached Marta before
Mhm.
about doing a film, about doing a book, about doing articles, and she has had many articles written about her. She has a very unique background, independent of the European baking. As a shoe designer, an honored shoe designer, a woman who worked in Asia and Europe for a shoe manufacturer, etc. And that design work, um, she loves creativity. So when she started eating some of these unusual pastries in Europe, she had to learn how to make them.
Yeah.
And from there, really developed this career as a baking teacher. So Marta was used to people approaching her to ask about doing something on her life. And we were friends, and I think she respected me. I know she respected me as a friend, but had no idea if I could make a film.
Um,
And I understand that. Fortunately, the director of Marda's Gift and the producer of Marda's Gift, Kate McMahon is the director and Daria Matza is the producer, are both um, long track professionals. So this was a team we were able to put together that was impressive. Um, but I think Marda had to come to believe in it just as we did.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
in a way, you're starting with an idea or a concept, and you have to see it come to life in a way that is credible. As we started to raise money, and as we started to shoot, and as she grew to know Kate and Daria, I think all of that started to mean a lot to Marta, and she could see sort of the light in the tunnel.
Um,
Um, and then, of course, as we finished the film and submitted it to other festivals, and we've been on PBS TV at this point on a couple of channels. So it's a happy ending. And Marta was all for it. And, I think with some reserved judgment, just as anybody would be.
Absolutely. And with that standard of excellence in mind too, it's a
Yes,
lot to
exactly.
do. So how has the reception been? It seems like it's been, on PBS, all these things. So how has that been for your team and for Marta to see as well?
Yeah, it's been really uplifting. As might be expected, we've had really just incredible results in Oregon. It's an Oregon story. Also in Wyoming, Wyoming PBS broadcasts the film and has done some other nice things for us. They got it up on pbs.org, etc. Um, so the reception's been really great. We've had wonderful articles written in local press across Oregon. And I think we're feeling success in what we started out to do, which is to tell this story, to show that a feel good story is important. It doesn't have to be about the tormenting issues of the day. Uh, Not that we see the value, of course, in covering that material, but we wanted to send a different message and tell a different story, and we feel pretty successful in that.
Absolutely, and thank you for telling the story of one of Oregon's own and,
Right.
really just seeing I don't know, the uniqueness and the special attributes that can just be in a neighbor and in a friend, and telling these everyday stories that might often get overlooked, but it's actually really special and can resonate with so many different people too, so just love the idea behind it. And were there for anyone driving through Oregon or from Bend and they might have seen Marta's Gift, are there any recommendations of places to get pastries? Because I was hungry after watching this film.
To buy pastries in Bend.
Yes, yes, if you have
Uh,
one in your hometown.
well, Marta opened a bakery in Bend in the late 70s called Breads of France, but that has long closed. So that would have been a great
Ah,
recommendation.
yep.
And then one of her students had a bakery lunch place called La Magie,
Oh,
and unfortunately, that closed a few years ago.
yeah.
Um, but there are several good places. There's Sparrow Bakery.
Oh, love Sparrow.
Um, I haven't been there too much, but there's a place called Blissful Spoon that I understand has some great things, some of which are gluten free.
Oh, nice.
Um, so those are the first two that come to mind. There's wonderful farmers markets here on Wednesday afternoons downtown, and Saturday mornings in Northwest Crossing. And so if anyone's coming through during those times, there are a few bakeries with kiosks there, and the goods are terrific. I can't quite remember their names at the moment, but a farmer's market would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough to be there last month and got to go to the farmer's market and picked up way too many goodies for one person to eat.
Yeah,
Somehow I powered through. But a
exactly.
funny thing that you mentioned Sparrow Bakery, and I think this just kind of touches on how baking can affect so many different people's lives. My husband, he is not, has never been a baker, but we just loved the ocean rolls at Bakery. So I think he's on his like seventh iteration of like a cardamom bun. And so it's his signature dish now. And it just again, it just brings that joy and that community and those gatherings. Because when are we eating? When we're together and when we're
Yep,
enjoying each other's company. So
yep.
yeah, and I just love the message behind that. So, did you have any last thoughts or anything you hope people take away from Marta's gift and watching this, or anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I hope that people give some thought to the small actions or the small things they do in life that can inspire others. It may be, I don't know, as small as feedback to a server in a restaurant, or it could be teaching a skill such as braiding or drawing, and how that can ripple forward and really give a young person or an adult confidence to take a next step. So I don't think we think about the impact we have as individuals and how people watch us as models for behavior or as something to aspire to. And in very small ways, I think we can make a difference that moves it forward for everyone.
Wow, absolutely. I love that, and definitely something that we can all take with us every day. Well, Sheila, thank you so much for chatting with us today, and thank you for being a part of the 11th Annual Klamath Independent Film Festival and for sharing Marta's story.
Thanks for having us in the festival, and good luck with everything.